So, I really didn't like episode 1 because of it had its various issues between Lord Zedd. Does episode 2 work better, or does it still have the exact same problems as the first one? Now, this episode primarily features Javi's story of the aftermath of what happened to his arm. And of course, the big moment of them losing their Dino Fury powers when Lord Zedd destroys their statues. Now, I want to talk about Javi first. Javi losing his arm was a really big moment in the first episode. It was something that Power Rangers hasn't really done, and we get introduced to his prosthetic arm. I like it. Visually, I thought it was really cool. It wasn't an easy thing that he had to deal with. You know, he just got a new arm, they installed some new technology, now he has to learn how to operate it. If this was a normal Power Ranger episode, this would have probably been the main focus of the episode. But there are a couple of things I didn't really care for it. Now, obviously, when we first saw the Cosmic Fury suits, we saw Javi have a prosthetic arm, and it was, cool to see, like, oh, he's gonna lose his arm, we don't know where the story's gonna go, and it was good for promotional material. The problem is, it doesn't work story-wise. One, secret identity. If this was like Lightspeed Rescue, him having the prosthetic arm wouldn't have been no big deal because the entire city knew the Rangers' identities. But in this case, the Dino Fury Rangers are being kept hidden. And now, if this was going to, end up being a story plot point where the Dino Fury Rangers get exposed and or stop caring about their secret identities, then that would have been okay. But they didn't go in that direction. So with Javi having his prosthetic being visible with his Ranger powers, I just personally think the writers just didn't think of that. And Ranger powers have been changing people from day one. From Justin to Doggy Kruger, that robotic arm could have been covered up. But another problem does arise with this issue. Now, like I said, Javi's story is a very emotional, a tough subject to talk about. So usually whenever, a show does this type of story, they love to, offset that with funny comedy moments. For the most part, I did like some of the scenes that they did that were funny. Like, for example, when Aeon and everyone were at the cafe and talking about the situation. One, it was a good breather. And it also brought back, J-Borg and everyone from the past seasons that you'd think that we wouldn't be able to have time. And it showed aspects of, like, how do we deal with this situation? And we just came from the RAFCON stuff. The city was under attack, everyone was going to be killed. Now we're dealing with another serious situation. Do we alert everyone of this serious situation, or do we give them time to breathe? Good. Now, the scene with Lord Zedd and Squillia, I didn't mind that. I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a scene that would have happened in the MMPR days. It was when we went to Doom Drop. I didn't understand why they bothered with this. These first 2 episodes ultimately are suffering from a pacing problem. And so we have this scene of, oh, the guy that we kicked out in episode 1, well, he came back and stole a ship and now he's gonna go attack Earth. Doomdrip's portion went too far. Problem stems with 2 things. We don't have the time, and they overly made Doomdrip stupid. You can also argue that he stole the ship to Squillia, he's gonna go after Earth, he's taking the initiative. Oh, good, he can be a bad guy. But then we have all these moments of him pricking himself on these cactuses on the bridge. He's acting stupid. Did I step back into Ninja Storm? I didn't have a problem with Mara, Capri, and Lothar. All right, you want to have those guys be the funny trio, so be it. It kept going because we had Sergain, all the other generals out there, so it kept going in a line of comedy, 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 no breather whatsoever until we got to Vexicus. On top of it, ultimately, it didn't really matter because what we got out of it was a random Zord fight. And I'm saying to myself, wasn't the whole thing about Cosmic Fury was to, allow the production team to do as much as they want whenever they feel like it, so they're not tied down to Sentai footage. And then right into episode 2, we fell into the same trap of, we need to have a Zord fight here. Like, if we're going to be doing something, we didn't need a Zord fight, because at the end of the day, what did it really do? It was a 1 to 2 minute Zord fight. Doomdrip died when you could have just simply killed him off in the first episode and saved us a few minutes of extra time that you could have elaborated on either Javi's story, Ollie's story, anything else, instead of having this 1 minute Zord fight that was really pointless. Okay, I'm complaining about a lot of things. What is actually really good about the episode? Ollie being evil. All intents and purposes, when they doused him again for the second time in a row, it basically corrupted his Ranger powers. and the only way they could have attempted to try to fix him was to blast him with high intensity energy from the morphing grid itself to see if it could clear him. It doesn't work. So that means not only is Ollie evil, his ranger powers were permanently corrupted. So if Zedd didn't actually accomplish what he was doing and got rid of the other ranger powers, Ollie's powers would have had to have been destroyed permanently in order to free him. That's the thing I really hated about these first few episodes of Cosmic Fury. There's a lot of stuff that they set up, and then that would have been really cool to see and explore into more detail, but we're just going to the next stop, the next stop, the next stop. It's literally, if you watch each scene, they only go for 2 or 3 minutes, and there are really good important moments in the episode that I do love, but it just suffers, especially the big moment of the Rangers losing their powers permanently. 2 big moments that I can recall of Rangers losing powers will always be MMPR Season 3 at the beginning, when the Thunder Zords were destroyed, losing their original MMPR powers that way, and of course Tori, Shane, and Dustin losing their powers when Lothor absorbed all their energy and sealing him away. Now, the Dawn of Fury Rangers losing their powers here, it didn't feel like the big moment that it was. They had their shields up, the Rangers were trying to defend, the base, and Fern came here at the worst possible time, so they're dealing with her. There's a lot of stuff going on. Ollie fighting Amelia in the base, but when we finally came to the moment of Zedd coming down, it would have been a much more bigger moment if everyone went to try to attack Lord Zedd. The thing that lacked in a lot of the scenes is the emotional. There was no moment of any one of the Rangers. Oh my God, look at them. Not even a reaction from Billy, because Billy has been through this thing how many times now? He's lost his Season 2 powers, he lost his Ninjetti powers, he wasn't a Ranger in Zeo at all. You would think that them losing their powers, oh my God, I just went through this, I don't want these guys going through what I've been through, and he would have rushed in and tried to stop Lord Zedd. You could have gotten away with episode 1 being short, but episode 2 really needed to be 2 episodes long. There was a lot of stuff they had to do and set up. Now, even though I'm saying all this, I do think episode 2 was much better paced than episode 1. There was just so much stuff in episode 1 that they had to introduce, so many characters. Even just removing Mick from episode 2, it really helped them to breathe. It gave chance for all the other actors. But now, what would I have done to try to fix this episode? I wanted this to be a Javi focused episode. While episode 3, if the pilot was 2 episodes, this would have all been about Javi dealing with his prosthetic arm. It would have been much more cooler to see Javi deal with his arm, going and screwing up, and then ultimately testing what he can do during a Zord fight. They want to have full control of as much as they can, and that would have been like one of the bigger moments of ending episode 3, while the B story could have been about Ollie finding out that ultimately his Ranger powers were permanently being evil, and the only way they could have dealt with it is to basically destroy his powers. And I think that could have been the direction they could have gone. They basically had tried and everything has failed, and it would have been interesting if they were going to be dealing with the dilemma of, do we destroy Ollie's powers or not? And then you could have delved into Javi is, dealing with the aftermath. How are they going to tell the parents that, Javi lost his arm? It's just like all of a sudden he's going to walk in with his robotic arm. What do you say? What do you do? Do we tell them that we're Power Rangers? And that would have been the conundrum of that storyline. 2 sides of, do we tell them that we're Rangers, and do we get rid of a Ranger? Where at the end of episode 4 is when Lord Zedd destroys their Ranger powers. That's where the cliffhanger of the ending would have happened. I think if they had spaced it at minimum of 2 episodes with episode 2, I think it would have worked much better. And if you got rid of Doom Drop, that would have helped at least give a couple of extra minutes to something. We're all waiting for them to get their Cosmic Fury powers, and we're like, oh, how long is this going to take? You're stuck in a rock and a hard place with the writers. Like, you want to tell a really good dramatic story. You also want to have everyone feel interesting. You want to get to the Cosmic Fury suits, but so it's a really hard story to balance. And if they got a couple of more extra episodes to tell the story, I think it would have worked out much better for the early episodes, at least. If you gave more time for the early episodes, and if you wanted to pick up the pace for the later episodes, I think that's what ultimately would have worked much better. I do think episode 2 is much better than episode 1, but still has this mid problem of just having not enough time to tell its story. What do you guys think about episode 2? Did you think that it had a pacing problem like I do? Would you have liked to have seen other things expanded on rather than just focusing on so much stuff around it? Would you have liked to have just this episode been an Ollie focused episode and leave Javi for later? Or like me, where I wanted to have Javi and Ollie be the A and B story. So far, with 2 episodes down, the pacing has really not been good. Will episode 3 improve it? We'll see.